Hi, my name is Demi Banwo. I am an actor, a film producer, and an executive producer, as well as a talent manager. Today is Nigeria's 63rd Independence Day, hence the white and green, gotta rep. And I think that it's a great idea that we're documenting a huge part of Nigeria's history and Nigeria's culture, which is our film industry. Film in Nigeria is pretty much as old as film in the world. But the problem is, if we don't document that history, then that history is lost to us. And as a people, we've done a bad job of doing that in the past. So it's great to see that the Losing Daylight team is actually making a concerted effort to gather all these artifacts, gather all these items, gather all this information, so that people that are interested in film, people that work in film, people that want to work in film, have somewhere they can go to see where film has been and where they want to take it. Because I firmly believe that you can't know where you're going unless you know where you're coming from. So I think it's a really, really great initiative, and it's only poetic that it's happening on Independence Day. So the part of the exhibition that stood out to me the most, I'm trying to figure out how to say this and remain humble. So there's this banner like this that goes across the room, and it's like the posters of, quite a few notable Nollywood titles. And I went through and I was like, how many of these films was I in? Yeah. And I counted like 5 or 6, and I was like, Demi, you have tried, But again, I think it's really great to see that sort of collection of, both not ancient, but older and modern Nollywood films. And I really like the kinetoscope experience, where you go into the wall and just peep in and experience how films used to be watched before, we got the televisions and the cinemas that we know now. I also think it was interesting to see the scripts of some of the productions that we've gotten to watch, like Eimofe, King of Boys. But I think the poster strip is my favorite because, humbly bragging. So for me personally, cinema, and not just Nigerian cinema, but cinema as a whole, has had a huge impact on my life because it was an experience of going to the cinema when I was 4 that made me decide to actually decide that I wanted to work in film. And it's great to see how far Nigerian cinema has come. I remember watching when I first moved back to Nigeria. I remember watching When Love Happens, and there was a horror film that James Omokwe made, and I watched those in cinemas, and those were like the first Nigerian films that I watched in cinema. So to go from that and then to be able to watch a Weekend to Forget last week, and see the progress that Nollywood has made in the cinema space, for me, it gladdens my heart because I see where we're coming from, I see where we are, and where we're going to, eyes have not seen yet. Yeah. Where the industry is now, I think we're in a place where people are starting to figure out that we need more structure in the industry for the industry to get to where we want it to go. When you look at the way investments are being made in other film industries in the world, so for example, like in South Africa, and the amount of investment that is going into that industry as compared to here, part of the reason is because they have the structures that are needed to be able to maximize those investments, because it's not just about putting the money in. It's like, can the money actually do the work it's supposed to do? Do you have the structures that can make that money do the work it's supposed to do? And so my thing has always been, how do we start to put those things in place? How do we start to put those structures in place so that when that investment comes in, we're actually ready for it and we're using it right? For me, one of those things is, for example, like talent management. It's something that I was very particular about, because at the end of the day, as an actor, if you're negotiating for some level of production or some level of work, you can't be negotiating with the production directly. You yourself have to have a certain structure around you and all that. So I think for me, it's just the way we've seen the progression of our films, both from a technical aspect to the story aspect, the way we've seen that progression. I also think that we're going to see the progression of the structure of Nollywood, of our film industry, to get us to a place where the kind of investment that we're looking for, the kind of investment that we hope comes into the industry, can actually come in and be sustained and be used properly. Yeah. All right, so this actually takes me back to when I was in secondary school. I used to go to Obalende under bridge to go and buy CDs. and there are a few familiar ones. In fact, before the CD era, I actually remember this Thunderbolts, right? And it scared me so much because it was I remember the story was the guy that put Magwo on his wife, and yeah, it kept me a virgin for a long time. Let's put it that way. It scared me of sex for a while. So yeah, there's that. Coming to recent times, I mean, come on. Funke Akindele is an institution. There's Return of Jennifer. There's, we have Omogeto here. So those of you that only saw Omogeto the saga, there was something that came before. This has one of my favorite actresses of all time, Bimbo Akintola, on there. She still looks the same. Yeah. Let's see what else is there. Again, Funke Akindele, can't go wrong with that. But I think for me it's no, it's not even this one. So this is where Aki and Popo came from. This was like, I feel like this was the first time we met Aki and Popo. And I always thought the movie was called Aki and Popo, but apparently it's called Aki Naokwa, right? So yeah, for the Gen Zs out there, you may not know what these are, but these are how we used to watch stuff before we got the streamers and you actually had to work for your stuff. You had to go and buy the CD or borrow the CD and all that. So it's actually great to go down memory lane with some of these. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Awesome.